What would it take to have rock-solid faith? Faith in God that was unshakable, come what may, despite the adversity, despite the pain, the suffering, despite the lockdown, the pandemic, the disease, the coughs, those last coughs of gasping for breath. That despite all that, we would still have faith. What sort of experience would be necessary to transform our understanding of the world, to know with certainty that there is a God, there is a creator, there is a plan, and I am part of that, and this is all part of that, and even though it doesn't make sense to me right now, I know that this is for the good, capital G. Would it take some sort of experience of actually seeing him? Well, this week's Torah portion, Parashas B'Shalach, I think holds the answer. We're not going to read it because we're not open for shul this week. And I'm here in an empty, lonely building sharing these ideas with you, but this Torah portion does hold concepts about when faith is found and faith is lost, and what it means to hold faith in God. The Jewish people have just gone through the most unbelievable set of experiences. 10 plagues, the splitting of the sea. They've witnessed the hand of God, the mighty hand of the Almighty, the Almighty. And the verses describe their beliefs. They found an experience of the divine. They had revelation. And yet, strangely, almost unbelievably, a few short verses later, they've wandered off into the wilderness and they're hungry and they're thirsty and there's nothing to eat and there's nothing to drink, and they ask and they complain, "Where are you?" They say the strangest words. Hayesh Hashem b'kirbeinu? Is Hashem even amongst us? Does he even exist? What do you mean, does he even exist? You just saw his might, you saw his wonders. You didn't just watch the Prince of Egypt, you lived the Prince of Egypt. And you ask, is God here? It's not enough to have empirical evidence of something, to have faith. The problem doesn't just end there. The problem is compounded and confounded, because as the parasha progresses, it seems like faith is suddenly returned. Like the crisis of faith and the doubt is put aside. Because later on, when Amalek attacks the people of Israel as they're weak and tired and vulnerable, they seem to think nothing of it. They wage a successful campaign. Moses stands at the top of the mountain, raises up his arms. Joshua gets the men all arranged, and they have their military campaign. No sweat, no issue. No concern about, God, are you here? You're not here? No, of course God's here. He's got our backs. How can they lose their faith and then regain it so easily? Unless there's two different types of faith. There's faith of the splitting of the sea. There's faith against the Amalekites. Faith in God, the God of history, the God of epic, the God of creation, God who will manage the Egyptian hordes, God who will wage a successful campaign against the Amalekites. That's the big God. I can believe in the big God. God who will bring a vaccine to save the world. But what about the God that cares about whether I eat tonight? Or drink water in the hot desert? What about the God that cares about my bank balance, or my unemployment, or my furlough scheme, or my deteriorating mental health under lockdown, or my children struggling to make sense of a virtual world that is crazy? What about the God that cares about the impact on my relationships, the God that cares about my home, my heart. What about that God? Do I believe in that God? Not the almighty, but the all-loving, all-caring. Do I believe in him? In this madness? In this time that we've had to say goodbye to too many people? That we've had to make trips to Bushy Malden Abbey too many times? Yes, the God who will bring salvation to the world. But what about salvation to me? To us? What about the God that empties out the shul so that there's just a mass of empty chairs and empty tables? Do I believe in that God? Can that be a being that I believe in? How do I have a relationship with that? That's the challenge of the people of Israel. To believe in not just the God of history, of his story out there, but the God of my story. To allow my external knowledge to change my internal self. That empiricism to build an inner theory and an inner sense that he does love me and care about me. Friends, that's the challenge. And that's what we must achieve. And if you want to know how to find that faith in the all-loving, all-caring Creator, despite sitting here in the dark and rain, I think an answer is simply to talk. To turn off the video, turn off the phone, turn off the light, and in that darkness that you find, simply talk to God and find him there.